dialed your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks. So let's waste no time. Ooh-wee! Let's get to it. Story number 1. Will a curfew make a difference? In the effort to reduce violence in Youngstown, the news is that if the kids are out in the neighborhoods after 11 p.m., then the city will act on a curfew violation. Now, the partnership between the police and the Mahoning County Juvenile Justice Center is what has the story trending. Violation of the curfew could land adults in trouble also with a 6-month county jail punishment if their child breaks the curfew. How sad is that? Now, the local report also states that if the curfew is violated, the child could be criminally charged. Oh my God. This is the answer after the death of several young children in the city. Only time will tell how this plays out. The story is still developing. Story number 2. More money headed to WRTA. According to a local report published June 24th in the Mediator, $8.5 million in grants are headed to WRTA. Not just grant, but grants. Now, the money will be coming from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. $4,313,552 will be used to construct and improve WRTA's bus barn. $2,940,480 will be used for a mixed-use transit-oriented facility that includes a new sheltered passenger terminal. Wow. Parking garage, electric vehicle charging stations, and other amenities. Now, the third grant, $1,208,632, will be used to replace older buses with zero emissions and a low emissions model. Story number 3. Girard Dam back in the headlines. Not a dam, but a dam. A dam. The conditions of Girard's Upper Lake Dam is now under a mandate to be studied by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. The continued impact that dams play on the energy grid is what got the story in. Story number 4. Update on the Mahoning County road projects. Update. Now, the road projects continue, folks. If you haven't noticed, the Mahoning County road projects have been ongoing. Now, from local Interstate 76 to local Interstate 680, to local U.S. Route 224 and State Route 179, State Routes 165 and 534. These are all roads in the current project plans, according to local reports. One Mediator article published June 25th goes in detail explaining the road upgrades. Story number 5, a local real estate update. This is a big one. Now, Mahoning County Auditor Ralph Beecham reported that 164,000 parcels of county property is nearly complete, according to a local Mediator report published June 28th. The article goes on. Now, in the report, Meacham estimated that property values increased by an average of 30% in the last 3 years, compared to 13.15% for the 3-year period before that. Now, this story has sounded the alarm as many are concerned about their property tax payments. So their property tax payments. The story made it in because of the rising cost of things and the fact that there are some key levies on ballots. That means that more prices could go up. And with prices going up, people are afraid that they will be taxed out of their homes. Story number 6. What can Lordstown Motor Corp or Company or Corp do to rebound? LMC. Now, the good thing about filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy is that you're still in the fight. Lordstown Motor Corp has a few things going for them. And here they are. Now, they can restructure and redevelop their business plan to a better plan that works better for them. That even means a better product with better deals, even if it's a revolutionary battery or a vehicle that is specifically designed for one thing. Now, the problem now is finding a solution in which everyone can be satisfied, a solution to the problem. Now, in an article published by the Mediator on June 29th, Lordstown Mayor Arnold Hill remained optimistic. Now, what got the story in is the current sour relationship between LMC, Lordstown Motor Corp, and Foxconn. Now, the way the story is presented is as though you have a now married couple living under one roof as their family and investors are asking for clarification. So that's a analogy of how this story is developing. That means that there's something happening internal between LMC, Lordstown Motors, and Foxconn. Something is happening that relationship-wise. You know, they got married. Now all of a sudden, some things are changing. Now, jobs and the huge impact that this company's success would have on the local economy is what has this story trending and what got it in. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week on Independence Day weekend. You should be thankful and be happy that somebody wants to share it with you. I came in, I got my suit and tie on, and I was ready. I said, I'm going in. Anyhow, to give people the top 8 stories, win, lose, or draw on Independence Day, baby. Independence weekend. Local stories. Story number 7. Will a budget shift and renewal levy help Youngstown schools? Now, the resolution adopted by Youngstown School Board of Education is that if a 4-year, $9.51 million renewal levy on the November 7th general election ballot passes, then maybe the school will get some relief. You know, maybe they'll get a few bills paid, get some lights changed, get some roofs done, you know, teachers get paid. Now, the levy would generate $5,291,000 and $291,510 annually for general operating expenses. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made this week for you, local reps out there, local people. Story number 8, Independence Day, baby. $3.7 million rationed out. That's money, big money. Oh, and here I am, sitting in the studio, sleeping day and night, doing nothing, making nothing to keep you informed. How precious of gold is that? $3,712,300 of the $42 million in ARP funds will be rationed out by Mahoning County Commissioners. Some of the money will be used to expand broadband services to underserved rural areas, what they feel is important. About $600,000 will be allocated to the county sanitary engineer's office for a pump station in Ellsworth Township. $500,000 to Youngstown Jubilee Homes for urban development to tackle the affordable housing problem. $475,000 to the city of Struthers for sewer mains. $348,000 for stormwater construction and replacement in Austintown. $150,000 to family and community services to shelter veterans. $105,000 to Flying High for transitional workforce housing. $30,000 to Noah's Lost Ark Animals Sanctuary in Berlin Center, and $4,300 for food and clothing for elderly and less fortunate people. This is according to a local Vindicator article published June 27th. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So don't you go anywhere. You're in the media with me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment And don't forget to show us some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week on Independence Day weekend, the day where America celebrates its independence from England, Great Britain, over there, America. A lot is going on. It's also the week of my birthday. I was born on the 8th day of July, so shout out to me. But birthday wishes go out to what has become of independence. This is a sentimental story because as an independent business owner and as an independent man, I'm starting to learn that not only is independence lonely at times, but a lot of women and men have become so independent they don't really want to touch each other. They don't want to feel each other. They don't want to fall in love. Some women have become so independent that you go in their rooms, you may find some freaky things that don't move, but can get them what they need. Some men, even like myself, have become so independent that the virtual boogly-woos and the boogly-booglies have come through the screen and enticed the independent body. Ooh, it's nasty. Folks, independence have become so nasty that people from all over the world are somehow engaging themselves in a uji, or what they would call an orgy. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. Online. That means independence has gotten nasty. People have somehow become united sexually. Women from all over the world being found googly boopsily. So this Independence Day, when you are lighting up a firecracker and you're looking at Miss Boogly in red, white, and blue on your TV set or running through the streets naked, let's thank the founding fathers who themselves got a little nasty. It's going to be a nasty Independence Day, folks. Ooh, if you feel the excitement and you know you're a nasty girl, it's going to be a fantasy and you're living in a nasty world. Ooh, boogly, baby. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Speaking of boogly wooglies, writer's strike has to be explained. The writer's strike. Yes, folks, the writer's strike is still ongoing, but may have changed as of June 30th. I don't know. The Screen Actors Guild is trying to negotiate a seminal contract with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, AMPTP, which represents the major Hollywood studios. This is what's going on. They're trying to negotiate a contract with these folks. Now, as of the airing of this show, the writers are not back. We're not backing down. Last time I checked. Now they have been on strike. Well, they've been on strike since May 2nd. That's what the article says. Now, the story goes on to say that there is hope and also explains what the actors want. Actors want an increased base compensation, which they say that they've been undercut by inflation and the streaming ecosystem. They want regular use of art and all this. Well, they're saying that regular use of artificial intelligence has affected their money. This is what's in the contract. They want better benefits plan and money for self-taped auditions. They even have a little explanation for it in an article. This is all according to a USA Today report. Story number 2, how a migrant surge forced the hand of American resources. Folks, throw all of the cards in and you force the opponent to fold. At least if you're a card player, that may make sense to you, because if you throw your cards in, that's basically what happens. Now, USA Today reports that the Biden administration won't tell them why they're fighting migrant families separated at the border. Now, this is another evaluation story still developing, showing how the United States hand has been forced on the border issues. Now, there are so many expenses and people tangled inside of the migrant surge web that this story is still gaining steam. American resources are all tied up inside of the migrant saga. Story number 3, a look into the landlord and shelter battle. USA Today reports on evictions and landlords drowning in debt. Some cases include $60,000 in back rent. Wow. Trashed houses and even more money for repairs. This is yet another story making headlines after the COVID mess. This story is still developing. Story number 4, how inflation is breaking the emergency and safety arena. There is not much optimism about inflation, according to central bankers. Inflation is also hitting the emergency and safety arena, as many cities are looking to levies to save their struggling emergency services. One report in USA Today reporting on how this is also affecting rural America is also in the headlines. The article says that nearly 4.5 million people across the U.S. live in what the article calls an ambulance desert. The story is still developing. That's why story number 4 made in this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. I'll be right back with the top 4, so don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week on Independence Day weekend and my birthday on Saturday on the 8th. Folks, I want to say that being an independent business owner and going into independent operations, independent places, sometimes even independent churches and independent movie studios. I have my own independent business. You may see some things that start to manifest in independent businesses. That means that the money is not fluid. You're living independently. And we're seeing a lot of that in America, where I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand this idea of independent. I mean, being in some of these independent facilities, you don't usually see a lot of independent people, You see people, like in some of these buildings, you may see a little group of people with a little bit of money, but they're making it work. And that's what independence is. I mean, that's what I've always seen. I mean, you may go into an independent studio, you may see about 3 people actually doing work. And then when you walk in, 3 people are doing so much work that they're so independent that they don't have a lot of money, so that they need you to pay. They need you to give something. And in America, everybody all of a sudden just thinks that we're just wealthy and swimming in dough. We're really actually... There's just a group of people who just came up with this spontaneous idea that there's just going to be a rebellion and we're just going to drag everybody else into independence. And some people need a favor, folks. Some people need a blessing. And then on top of that, on your quest for independence, you just miraculously just come up with the phrase, "In God we trust." Oh, Lord. I have been talking to God, and I've been trusting Him. And I know that right now, that's our only hope, because the presidents, the administrations, the government, yes, has born and exploded into a field of global affairs. And our flag was still there. But the independence, folks, is what's at stake. The independent businesses, the independent people, the independent women who don't want to be tied down, the independent men. Folks, there's a lot in this week's story. The saga continues, folks. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave? Woo! Independence, baby. Let's get to it. Story number 5. The car business has shifted gears. And yes, folks, there is a problem. Lordstown Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy some years after the closure of a very important Chevy Cruze plant in Ohio. That's one thing that's showing there's some shifting going on. USA Today fact checks yet another climate change story stating that humans are responsible for a significant amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. And yes, folks, they could be blaming cars. Ford salaried layoffs reported in another article. I mean, they're saying their salaried people could be getting laid off. Now, this is all in the report. This is all in the car business because they're saying they're blaming cars. So now I'm going to get to the point here in a second. And there's an and. Electric vehicle production sacrifices continue to hit the headlines along with the fighting gas, coal, and oil-powered. If you want to talk about the combustion engine fight, that's in the car business also. Now, this has created a complex chip-filled ride with car makers battling to keep up with policies that have affected their bottom line and has made it very hard for them to compete in the race to adhere to government policies that many feel are breaking us and breaking the car industry. Folks, this story is still developing. Story number 6. What is really going on in Russia? Something internal is going on in the Russia-Ukraine saga, leading to several jaw-dropping headlines. In the Atlantic, Russia has reached a dead end. That's one headline. The article basically concludes that Russia has no good way out in Ukraine. In the BBC, Russia executed 77 civilians detained by its forces and later reported on what appeared to be a Wagner mutiny. This is all in the headlines. Now, in current developments, it's important to understand what is taking place past, present, and future. It's also important to do research on how this story developed. These are all key players. That means in Russia, these are all key players that are in this story. And Russia is a huge piece on the global chessboard, folks. This story is still developing. Story number 7 and the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week for you to keep you informed on Independence Day weekend. Story number 7. The state of America as an independent nation. A poll in USA Today shows that there is little excitement about the 2024 presidential frontrunners, and there is a lingering alarm about America's institutions, U.S. institutions. Now, this story speaks of a critical divide when it comes to political views and what many call the uninformed, informed, and ill-informed. And they're saying it is a war taking center stage on the American culture event, Now, this story has everything to do with the current culture and growing disconnect on some very important issues, eating away at what forms a stable democracy. Many say right now we're just a bit unstable. Now, the foundation of a country constantly trying to remain unified has been plagued by its brutal history. In God we trust may be the only thing keeping America in a stable state in present time. American prime time, big baby. Woo, this story is still developing. Story number 8 and the top international headline and developing news story that made it this week. Twinkly winkly, it's a top story and the fireworks go boom, boom. Story number 8. What did COVID actually do to the economy? The COVID ripple effect is still being felt, folks. Data is still coming in connecting heart attacks and strokes to vaccinations. Reports are also coming in about the origins of COVID-19. The death toll that COVID unleashed is also newsworthy research. It's worth researching also if you want to research yourself. Now, the price tag and underground funneling of misused relief money is also in this. Bank failures, business failures, and the economic toll is also in this report. Inflation and what COVID did to those already in poverty is also being addressed. And lastly, the education and entertainment sector. That's just another factor. Now, when no one could fill the seats, entertainers were boxed into a shell, channeling their creativity to other places. And what COVID has done to the already embattled education system is an add-on, just an add-on to all the problems, because the system will be, the effect, this bad stuff will be felt for many years from now. And we don't know how it's going to develop. Now, this is a story of setbacks, dropouts, and even financial confusion and loss. With the world in recovery mode, many still see COVID as the blame for most of the world's still growing problems, folks. That's why it's number 8 made it to the top this week. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your stories to keep people informed. If you want to show us some support here at Method, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or to sponsor a program, or stop at the store at 5648 Market Street to get some services or buy something in the store. That's 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio. Well, folks, I'm out of here. Have a good holiday. Happy Independence Day. I'm out here. I'll be back next week looking over 200 more stories just to keep you informed. Thank you for tuning into the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.